Any better luck? Can you hear me now? No? Is it?
Sí, sí, okay.
Very good. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being with us. It's been a long day, but we're very excited about this particular session. I'm Nason Sapa with UN Environment. The just slightly less than an hour we have together is for a very special moment in the calendar for UN Environment, the announcement of our annual Champions of the Earth awards. We're delighted to have the laureates for this year or their representatives here with us today. In the interest of time and in order to introduce the award and our laureates, let me welcome Head of UN Environment, Erik Solheim.
Thank you so much, Nason, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to be with these great champions of the Earth, people who have made a particular contribution to the environment of this planet. This is the highest reward given by the United Nations in general and by the United Nations Environment in particular to people who have made a particular contribution to a better, cleaner, more environment-friendly planet. Some of them have devoted their entire life to this purpose. Some are more new kids on the block, and they have contributed in many different areas. This is a prize for political leadership, for business leadership, for civil society leadership, and for science and lifelong devotion to the cause of the environment. People can contribute in many different ways. There are two reasons why we want to give these awards. One is simple, we want to reward people who do a lot for the planet. You deserve it, all of you. That's very important. But it's of course also because we believe that people who do well for the planet can also inspire others to do more. People see a business doing well economically and well for the planet at the same time, well then other business leaders are inspired. When people see political leadership in a nation, well then it can apply to other nations as well. And when a civil society activist stand forward to protect the planet, again other individuals will do. So we want to use this to inspire, and we want you, of course, to be with us in the years to come in different ways to inspire people for more action. Let me then just go through the main different categories, starting with political leadership. We have given the reward for political leadership to the President of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. He cannot be with us today for obvious reasons, but he is very well represented with the Minister of Environment, Vincent Biruta. We just tell you that, of course, we all know that Rwanda is a nation out of one of the most horrible incidents in global history, the genocide. It has been a nation rapidly building in economic terms since that, but it's also a nation with outstanding environment policies. One of them being, I think, the cleanest nation in Africa, one of the cleanest nations on the planet, and that comes from applying, for instance, a ban on plastic bags, which happened in Rwanda and is now emulated by many other nations on the planet. I spoke also this morning about how President Kagame and the government of Rwanda has been absolutely essential in protecting the gorillas. The mountain gorilla population in Rwanda has tripled over the last decades. And that doesn't come by itself, it comes by political efforts, which has also turned this into a fantastic tourist and business opportunity for Rwanda. And Rwanda and President Kagame, as well as my friend Minister Biruta, played a critical role in the biggest environment success story of 2016, which was the Kigali Agreement on phasing out the dangerous and poisonous climate gases from refrigerators and air conditioning system. That is the first big environment agreement, as far as I can recall, at the African continent, and it was absolutely essential and an astonishing success. Many contributed, China, India, the United States, many, but it was done under the able leadership of Rwanda. So in the category of politics and political leadership, we have decided to give the prize to President Kagame, and by extension to the government of Rwanda for your efforts. And we hope those efforts will inspire other African nations and other nations in other parts of the world as well. Let me then move on to the area of business. We start by telling a story. I was a couple of years back in the World Bank, and I asked the World Bank of people the very simple question: tell me about a nation who has done very well when it comes to renewable energy. What is a world lead nation on renewable energy? The people in the World Bank said, well, it's difficult because there are many, but maybe Morocco. I have to say I was surprised, because I was at that time not really aware of the success you have done. But we are very, very happy to recognize this. The biggest focused solar plant in the world is right outside the city of Marrakesh in Ouarzazate, and it's inspiring others. You will have the problem that at some point others will do even bigger. I think Dubai will surpass you at some point, but at the moment you are the world leader in focused solar. This speaks loudly about the leadership of the King of Morocco and the government of Morocco, but also of the business of the Moroccan Agency for Solar Energy, which is here represented by Obaid Amrane. So thank you for coming, and just this focused solar plant alone saves 2.5 million tons of oil, which is not a small amount. I mean, think of how much it is. So thank you for your effort, and let you be an inspiration for other businesses on the planet in the rapid transformation we need from fossil fuels into solar. In the category of local action or inspiration and action, let me introduce to you Afroz Shah. I had the privilege of visiting him in Mumbai a couple of months back. I can tell you his story. Afroz Shah is living at the 10th floor in an apartment looking down to some of the beaches. There were Sova Beach in Mumbai. Mumbai is a big city, a similar size as Mexico City, 20 million or so. Yeah, it's a huge city. And Afroz just looked down on the beach and he saw all the unbelievable plastic pollution there. It's thick like that all over the beach. Takes an enormous effort to get it up, and he decided, I don't want to live like this anymore. Then he went to his neighbor, and told his neighbor, let's do something with this. They didn't say, let the politicians do something, let someone else do something. They said, can we do something to this problem? And then the snowball, I mean, may not be too many snowballs in Mumbai, but then the snowball started rolling, and all of a sudden, many neighbors and hundreds and at the end thousands of people engaged in this. And for every Sunday, many Saturdays, for the last more than 1 year, they have picked plastic at the beaches. And they have picked tons upon tons of plastic. It's the biggest beach cleanup ever in human history. And you can see the benefits of it. And in April, Afroz will arrange, I think, the first cricket match. And cricket is religion of India, as you know, at the beaches of Mumbai to celebrate this success. Again, let this inspiring example inspire people all over the world to look into, can I do something? Not just can someone else do it. Thank you, Afroz. And in the same category of innovation and inspiration, we also wanted to acknowledge Leila Akaroglu. I think your name must be Turkish, but you are Australian, based in New York, as far as I know. And you have been a key pioneer on the issue of disruptive design, inspiring people to think anew, finding new ways of elaborating of issues. And that's, of course, exactly what we need in the environmental space. We cannot continue just with our old thinking. We need to find new ways of resolving issues. And you have inspired lots of people, educating them into a new way of thinking. And we hope that your disruptive design method can inspire many people in thinking anew on environment and on other issues as well. So thank you for your effort. Then we wanted to acknowledge Professor Jose Sarukan for lifelong achievement in the area of environment. I know that you are a pioneer in Mexico in many different ways. I mean, you are a scientist in your own right, which has made a huge scientific production. But you are a scientist of the type I like, which not just do science, but also want to translate that science into how you can, how we can be influencing people, how it can be understandable to people, because unless science influences society, it's of less value. And you are a scientist, but you are also an educationalist, using that science to educate people, and you have, even upon all that, been a system and institution builder, building the Commission for Biodiversity in Mexico. So that's the real science we need, and it's a lifelong. You are not still a young man, but not so young. So it's not so young. You are the same age as the Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping were when he started turning China around. So that you can still achieve enormous things. Yeah, you will achieve a lot in the future. But we wanted to acknowledge your enormous contribution to Mexican policies on biodiversity, which today also have been seen in this conference. Mexico is now one of the nations really achieving the target of protecting 17% of its land area, and also now stepping up with marine protection. So, and we know that when politicians do this, there has always been some pioneers who have paved the way for that to happen, and you are among those pioneers. So thank you so much for your efforts. And then the last we want to acknowledge, I've been very inspired by the people here. The last one is, of course, in a much sadder category. That is Berta Cáceres. She's represented with her brother here. Berta was one of the key civil society activists in the Mesoamerican state of Honduras. She stood up for the indigenous communities of Honduras. She did fight environment destruction as she saw it in some of the hydroelectrical projects there, which were, in her view and many others' view, not really rooted in a dialogue with the people of Honduras and with the indigenous people of Honduras. And she paid the ultimate price for this. She was murdered. She was murdered in the Honduras cities of Les Esperanza on 3rd of March this year. We wanted to acknowledge her lifelong work, her dedication to the environment, but we also want to acknowledge this, to give protection to the many civil society and environment activists who are threatened on the planet. If people do not dare to stand up for the environment, we will see a lot more progress on the environment. So the work of Berta Cáceres should not be in vain. We should use this to acknowledge her work, and we should use it as a way of protecting other civil society activists. Unless those who perpetrate environmental crimes are brought to court, they must be caught, they must be brought to court, and they must be punished in no uncertain terms. That's the only way to stop these kind of crimes on the planet. So thank you, as your brother, for coming here on her behalf, and we celebrate her and the memory of her, the work of her, but also we want to make sure that this should not happen to other activists. So thank you to all of you. I'm happy to be with you. I guess we'll then move on to making comments from the different people around the table here. Is that Nathan?
Exactly.
Is that how we do it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If
Yep.
we can invite each of our laureates just for their brief interventions
Yeah.
now. So.
Please, we start. I think we do it in the same order. So if we start with Rwanda, please.
Thank you. Executive Director, United Nations Environment Program, awardees, ladies and gentlemen, let me start by thanking the United Nations Environment Program for your tireless leadership in steering the world ever closer towards sustainable development. By recognizing the work of truly outstanding individuals and organizations, you give hope to all who strive every day to protect our home, planet Earth. I'm here to accept the 2016 Champion of the Earth Award for Policy Leadership on behalf of my president, His Excellency Paul Kagame. Unfortunately, he could not be with us due to commitments back at home, and so he asked me to pass on his thanks and express how humbled he feels to be named a champion of the earth. Conservation is an issue very close to the president's heart, and he has made it a top priority to see Rwanda develop in a way that is both sustainable and that brings prosperity to all citizens. Despite land and population pressures and ever-increasing competition for natural resources, we know that Rwanda's development can only be sustained if economic development and the environment are not in competition, but rather are mutually reinforcing. As a result, the government of Rwanda is putting the environment at the heart of everything we do. We have enshrined environment protection into our constitution and introduced laws, policies, and strategies on green growth, climate resilience, conservation, and waste management. We rewrote our Vision 2020, the country's guiding policy document, to include sustainability, and updated our economic development plan to ensure green growth and climate change are considered in every major decision. But even the best written laws and policies are meaningless without political will and the shared commitment of citizens to be champions of the earth in their own communities. In Rwanda, this commitment includes a plan to restore 2 million hectares of land by 2020, representing border-to-border restoration and the highest proportional national commitment to the Bond Challenge. We have an ambitious goal to cover almost 1/3 of the country with forests by 2020. And to achieve this, we organize an annual forest planting season. This year's season was launched across the country last Saturday, and we see more than 23 million trees planted. Late last year, we established one of Africa's newest national parks, Gishwati Mukura Park. This ancient rainforest is home to incredible biodiversity that is now being rehabilitated by local communities. This type of community-led conservation has been essential in the protection of the endangered gorillas in Rwanda's Volcanoes National Park, now the only great ape species increasing in number. When communities surrounding the park understood both the environmental and economic benefit of protecting these majestic animals, poachers laid down their snares and became their guardians as trackers or tour guides. Today, ecotourism is the leading source of income supporting the conservation of the gorillas and their habitat. And because we know that efforts of one country alone are not enough to address borderless challenges such as climate change, Rwanda was pleased to host the 28th meeting of the parties to the Montreal Protocol in October. At this meeting, the historic Kigali Amendment was passed, which will phase out potent greenhouse gases known as hydrofluorocarbons and avoid up to half a degree Celsius of global warming by the end of the century. On behalf of President Kagame and the government of Rwanda, I wish to thank all nations for coming together in the spirit of cooperation to adopt the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol. Our task now is to ratify, and I welcome the enthusiasm shown by many to join with Rwanda to ratify at the start of next year and begin implementation immediately. And so, we enter the most critical period of environmental action in human history. We are called to inspire everyone around the world to become champions of the earth. In doing so, we secure the bright future that our children and their children deserve. On behalf of my president, His Excellency Paul Kagame, I congratulate all the awardees and once again thank the United Nations Environment Program for this incredible honor. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister Biruta. We'll then passing on the floor to Mr. Amrane from Morocco, from Asen.
Thank you, Mr. Solheim. From my part also, I want to thank you for this distinction. MASEN is the Moroccan Agency for Sustainable Energy, is working to implement the vision of His Majesty the King Mohammed VI, so as to lower the Morocco dependency on important fossil fuel, but also to inscribe Morocco on sustainable growth path through the development of a very ambitious renewable energy projects program. We are very honored for the recognition at this level of the work we have done, and we hope this will inspire other countries to embrace the developments on large scale of renewable energy. MASEN has the objective to develop no less than 42% of the Moroccan capacity from renewable energy by 2020. The success we have recorded in the first step drive us to improve and to enhance this and to increase this level to 52% by 2013, which means that at this time, Morocco will avoid the emission of no less than 9 billion tons of CO2 each year. And this is one of the major contributions of our program to the preservation of the climate and the preservation of the biodiversity and nature in general. Those projects, we succeed also to realize that renewable energy project can be economically very beneficial to all the counterparts, to the economy, but also to the industry, to the R&D activities, and to the community where the projects are developed. We succeed to have the very lowest price of renewable electricity today with a very comprehensive design of institutional framework, but also on the structuring of projects. We hope that with this project, we can inspire and convince that renewable electricity is something that can be developed on large scale, that can be competitive with fossil fuel, and it's the future to change the paradigm of consumption electricity to preserve nature for the next generation. And at the end, I want to thank you one more time and to congratulate all the participants to this ceremony, and thank you very much.
We are moving from the continent of Africa to the continent of Asia, to India, to Mumbai. Please, Afros.
Hello, everybody. Good evening to everybody. First of all, I must confess it's just amazing being with these inspirational awardees on the stage along with me. I never dreamt about it. I work as a lawyer at Mumbai, and what I would do in a profession was go to the court and argue. And suddenly I'm parachuted in 1 year of my life work among the inspirational awardees here, people who have contributed to make Earth a better place, a planet more livable to all of us. And I must recollect back now when I look what I did in week 60, Eric, suddenly flashes come to my mind of October 2015, when I looked at my ocean and I said, what's happening? What's the problem? I stay on an apartment block which is just overlooking the ocean, and it was catastrophe. 5.5 feet shoulder length of plastic on the beach and the creek abutting it. I actually went on the beach. When I shifted there, I went on the beach to have a look, and I said, it's impossible task to do. Who would do it? Then being a lawyer, I said, I must move the court. Let's call the Chief Justice of the court to intervene if the government is not doing it. Obviously, the government was not doing it at the ground level. That's why you had so much of plastic all around. But I chose a difficult path. Being a lawyer, I could have gone to the court, invited the Chief Justice for an order, and another order on the file, paper, build up. We have files piling up at the courts, at the government offices, every kind of institution. So I said, I must do a ground level action. And I was alone in my battle. When the seat came into my mind in my apartment block, and I requested an 84-year-old man to join me, who was like a bubbling teenager. He said, I hold your hand. I wore my gloves, and I was on the beach in October. And we started cleaning. The first day, I remember I cleaned 5 bags of plastic, and I was so elated that some start has been made. But I didn't know actually where this journey would end. It was a huge task. I drew a timeline of 3 years. I needed more hands. I needed governmental support at the same time. And I realized this story is basically, to my mind, it comes to me now, it's about human bonding, Eric. It's about human bonding with human bonding with environment. We have lost touch. You see, we are plugged into so many laws around us. Then you have so many things happening around us in terms of profession. We have lost touch with the environment. And I'm an ocean lover. I was born in that coastal city of Mumbai. I have seen the coast clean. I have swam into those sea. And suddenly you realize it's unfit. It's unfit even for my hand to go into it. And for me, it was a question of basic human right. You see, if a citizen can't enjoy your beach or an ocean, what do you do? What do you do? Which court do you go to, and which government you ask for support and help? When 70 years of independence of my country, it hasn't worked. So finally, I took it on, and we started the journey. We worked hard. I started canvassing on my streets in the apartment blocks abutting. I used to go invite people over for lunches, dinner. We Indians bond over food, so I would call them, explain to them what I'm planning to do. And finally, the veil was lifted. You see, when you propose to a human being what the problem is, we react. We react in a very good way. It's not about being complacent all the time or complaining all the time. You had to put something across, and they came forward. And this movement built up, and it was a 2.8 kilometers of beach which we have cleaned now for past 60 weeks. We keep on cleaning it. We have to maintain it. We see as an opportunity. Then we clean the oceans as well, abutting. There's a creek. That will only take 3 to 5 years to clean it. And the best thing what we did was, I didn't want it to be like a purely citizen movement, you see. You have to have the government involved to an extent where the cleanup happens faster. And I understood only one thing. You see, if you lift the veil of the government, there are people behind it. And if you go with the problem, probably they'll understand. You see in social media, you see now on Twitter, Facebook, all kinds of, these are all complaint mechanism. You either blame your prime minister, you blame your chief minister, you blame the minister for all whatever's happening around. I said, I'm not going to complain. I need to get solutions on. And it's about participative democracy. You see, you vote and you don't sit for next 5 years. You need to go there and assert your neighborhood must reflect who you are as a citizen around. And that's what I did. I started interacting with people, and now it's built into a moment. There are 19 beaches in Mumbai, actually. So it's a tough task. The first one is getting cleaned in 60 weeks. But hopefully, with more citizens joining in, I expect it to get faster. And I'll preface it only with one thing, Eric, which comes to my mind. As a lawyer, I work in the constitutional courts where we argue about law, legislative competence of the parliament and blah, blah, blah. I have not seen ground action happening in the way it should. Our environment and ocean are suffering precisely for that. You can pass treaties in Nairobi, London, New York, Mumbai. Our parliament does it. Where is the enforcement mechanism at the ground level? A slum dweller in Mumbai who earns 2,000 rupees, say 30 euros a month, he is least concerned about all this. He just dumps plastic into the ocean till the time there is a ground level action from people who should be taken care of. When I say people, it's all about the stakeholders. You see, the citizens can't work in isolation. UNEP can't work in isolation. All of us have to work together. There's a problem in hand. The government, the citizens, people who frame policies, and finally how it's going to be implemented. So monitoring mechanism has to be done. So I feel if UNEP or, I don't want to sound patronizing, but if UNEP or people who are in Government of India, Government of Maharashtra, where I come from, if they do more ground action, probably our ocean will be much more safer and better. And finally, I'll conclude with this, that my message to everybody around the world is bond with the oceans, bond with the environment. It's high time we do that. Laws won't teach you. It's about you as an individual, your nature around you, your ocean around you. You need to bond with it, and once you bond, it's like love. Somebody asked me the other day, how did you start? What was the inspiration, Eric? And I said, every Saturday, Sunday, you won't believe, I feel like I'm on a date with the ocean, you see. So, Laila, when you go on a date, you're at your best, mentally, physically, you get ready and you're trying to impress. For me, to impress the ocean is a big thing, And it's in a dire state, it's crying for justice. It's in a horrible state. I don't know about other parts of the world, but Mumbai, it's turned into a sewerage, It's a sewerage. And if you don't do anything in another 5 years, it will be shut for all. Shut for all. And finally, I want to wind up by saying thank you to everybody at UNEP who worked on this, who invited. First of all, thank you, Eric, for coming to Mumbai to clean with me. That was a great day. I mean, the whole of Mumbai was motivated. India looked up to you because you don't see far too many political leaders who come on the ground, on the field. And Eric, I must give it to you. It was absolutely inspirational to everybody in Mumbai and India. I have to thank Nysen, Valerie, Dr. Abraham for making all this possible. And thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
Wow, to say I'm inspired would be an understatement. That was very impressive, and a man who speaks the words from my own heart. I am incredibly, incredibly humbled to receive this award. I'm a very passionate advocate for this planet. I love it. I really love the butterflies and everything that exists on it, and I don't want to move to Mars. So I dedicate my life to figuring out how we can all work together as individuals who appreciate the air we breathe, the food we eat, and the water we drink to sustain our bodies that came from this planet in more significant ways. So my story is pretty interesting. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, so I studied industrial design. I was like, how do these things made and where do they come from? So I started studying, and very shortly into my program, I was like 20 years old, and I was in an engineering class, and the head of the department, he said, okay, everyone, we're going to learn about this thing called the Gaia theory. It's that everything in nature is interconnected. And I was like, oh, hang on a second. Wait, hang on a second. What do you mean by that? He said, well, this is nature. And in 5 minutes, he basically explained something that nobody had ever really taken the time to express to me. And I come from a pretty, good country called Australia. It's great. You should come visit. And here's the deal. He explained to me something that has changed everything about the way I see the world. And that is that we are all the beneficiary of an incredibly beautiful, complex, dynamic, interconnected system called planet Earth that we come from, that we're a part of, and that we rely on in order to sustain ourselves. And no matter what we do, no matter how technologically advanced we become, no matter how smart we are as a species with artificial intelligence and robots that would take all our jobs and the possibility of Mars as another colonizing planet, the reality is that nature made us, and we have to have better dignity and respect towards the planet that we come from. And so I'm incredibly passionate about figuring out how to dedicate my life to that. And so what I've done is I've worked in design, sustainability, social change, social innovation. I started a school recently called the Unschool of Disruptive Design. We catalyze young people around the world to see the agency that they have to participate in social change. We take young creatives, we take people who otherwise sit at their desk pushing a mouse thinking, I really want to be doing more with my life than this. And we give them the thinking and the doing tools to participate in micro and macro ways in being part of the type of change that they want to see in the world. Because every single one of us, no matter how small or big our sphere of influence is, no matter how impoverished or rich we are with the resources that we get given, we have the capacity to influence and affect change on the people around us. And it is an absolute honor for me to sit at this table with these advocates of exactly that narrative, that no matter what the problem is in the world, the solution lies with you, because every problem holds its own solution. And when you look at things in this dynamic way, using a systems approach, then you start to really see that we all have the agency and the potential to solve the complex problems that we are presented as a species. And so through the work that I've done as a designer and a sociologist and a provocateur for the planet, it is to really try and get people to think differently, to activate their own agency, to find purpose in the micro ways that they can participate in solving some of those issues that present to us every day, and to really catalyze a community globally. So I personally accept this really great award on behalf of the millions of people that I know every day wake up and they live and they breathe the beauty of this planet. And I'm really, really, really grateful to be representing those people and to continue finding the words to speak loudly and articulately for this planet, because I love it and it's beautiful. So thank you.
They said we had 40 minutes to talk.
400.
4 minutes. Thank you for the opportunity, for the prize, for everything. Something completely unexpected, really. I am not being, not sort of toying with the thing. It came as a very nice surprise on a phone call. And maybe I should explain what along those almost 40 years or a bit more, maybe 45 years of work have started from. My training is biology. I am a biologist, and then I had training in agricultural botany, which was very nice because it put me into the area in which people interact with nature in such a way that you don't get in a normal biology course. And then I had the privilege of having my PhD with one of the most amazing, stimulating characters in population ecology, John Harper at the University of Wales, which was really a turning point in my life. I returned to Mexico. We all wanted to return to Mexico in that time. It was very nice and it was very stimulating. And I started building a group of ecologists in Mexico. I was the first ecologist who had a degree on ecology. But the way I sort of put together that group was not by Xerox copying myself, but training them up to a point, sending them to very different parts, and then bring them back. Well, that gave us a very nice group to really develop in the country, which was very nice. I started working on population ecology and on evolutionary biology. That's my very nice sort of special interest. And then from there, I suddenly bumped into the job of being rector or principal or president, depending on which country you are in, of the National University of Mexico, UNAM, which is the largest and the oldest university in the American continent. It was founded in 1551, much earlier than the arrival of pilgrims into the US. So, and that was a phenomenal experience. It was 8 years, and I learned one of my first important lessons. Youth. Youth is the change for so many things. I mean, this chap who was looking for the fountain of eternal youth never went to university, because he wouldn't have gone to Florida. He wouldn't have gone to a university to really look for the fountain of eternal youth. But not only eternal youth, it's eternal creativity, inventiveness, freshness, and so that's one element that has helped me to shape much of the things I've done. The other was that after I finished my period as president of the university, I moved into larger things, global issues in the environment and biodiversity. And suddenly, just when I was in my role as president of the university, I had one day the call of the president of the country asking, listen, next year is the Rio meeting. Can you suggest something that Mexico can take to the Rio meeting as a sample or a contribution that really exemplifies the interest of Mexico into biodiversity and environmental issues? So in that moment, and probably you have had this, I saw the planets aligned in my life and said, well, this is the opportunity. And then we suggested something that became CONABIO, the Mexican National Commission of Biodiversity. I didn't run it for the first year times because I had a 300,000 student university to run on, which was plenty. So I asked one of my students to do it, and he did beautifully, Jorge Soberon. Well, after that, I took the running of CONABIO, which is what I am doing now. And there are some things that we devised in CONABIO. First, it should be a bridge between academia and government and society. Second, every single bit of information must be made public, so everyone can have access to it. But not access only to the result, but also access to all the elements that brought to the result. So we publish shapefiles in our webpage. And fourth or third, I don't remember, where am I? Was the fact that Mexico has a very peculiar, or very different, rather than peculiar, land tenure system. About 70%, very different from India. About 70% of the forests, tropical forests, temperate forests, are the property of communities. Native communities, rural communities, what we call ejidos. And those are the owners of those forests. And that is the only capital they have. They are given that piece of land and say, well, all right, you go ahead. And obviously, when you give that to native groups, they have no problem in living from that. But if you leave it to people who have never been there, then start having problems. And this makes the whole thing very difficult. But the point of that was that that information should help directly to those people. Not only for politicians who may have to take decisions, not only to people in NGOs that are working with this, which is very important, but also to help these people. So these are the things that have really been mixed into the work of CONABIO. We are convinced, I am absolutely convinced, that the only way to change the country in any aspect, but let's only speak about environmental issues, is society, but it is society with a proper education, with proper motivation, with information that is believable, accessible, that they can understand and they can appropriate. And this is absolutely essential. I invite you to go down to the stand of CONABIO and have a look at the different parts. We have the webpage of children, which is really fantastic, because we have translated all that scientific information into things that children can grasp and enjoy and learn and work with, because we have to start from there. So my motivation has been, how can we turn the knowledge that we can have into things that are useful to make decisions, but are also useful to generate the culture of valuation of biodiversity in society. As you were saying, the solution is in really the participation of society, but the society that is adequately informed, reliably informed, and motivated by grasping exactly what's the value of what they are learning. So that has been very much the purpose of the existence of CONABIO. And while one looks back, and there are so many young people that have really built CONABIO. It's not only me. I mean, there have been hundreds of people that have passed through CONABIO. We are now about 330 people there that really have done the work and have built CONABIO and help Mexico to do things in a more reasonable, sustainable way. So I am very surprised and I'm very glad and very honored on receiving this distinction. I've never been called a champion at all. I've played a number of sports, but never been called a champion. So this will be a first. Thank you very much.
Even if you have maybe not been called a champion, for sure you have been a champion, and now you are a champion, so thank you. And then the last speaker will be Juan Manuel Caceres, who will speak on behalf of also his sister, Berta Caceres. Please, Juan Manuel Caceres, floor is yours. Will you speak in English or in Spanish?
En marroquí. En todos los idiomas. Gracias a
Thanks to the environment for this recognition for our sister, Berta Cáceres. It's an honor to be here and to receive on her behalf this award. It's mixed feeling of pain and joy at the same time. But her death, we know, has created awareness, especially in the Central American peoples and in the people of Latin America. Since she was a very young girl, always fought for the poorest people, for the most needy people. Not only the people who were the people suffering hunger, but the people who were hungry for justice, to defend themselves from the politicians who wanted to just steamroll over them with no consideration. So thank you for this award for Bertha. I congratulate the other laureates. I congratulate the lawyer for taking this conscience and take actions in his own hand, of the minister to take actions to avoid destruction of our planet, to the scientists to put all their knowledge and their brain power to avoid destroying our environment. Bertha fought for the neediest, for the indigenous people who coexist with the ecosystems. Our indigenous people live of water, of the land, they live of the plants, they live of the animals. And when companies come who couldn't care less about driving them out at any cost, they don't only destroy the planet, they murder people, they murder the future. Many of the people here possibly have little glasses of water, that there's water here. But if we continue destroying the area and we fail to manage it correctly, there'll be no more water in the future. It'll be sand in those glasses. So Bertha had that vision for the future of being able to protect the needy and to protect the environment. And she was a firm believer in being able to organize people, to bring them together, helping them, training them, serving them. Bertha came and she fought a lot against governments that were totally indolent about concessioning land, water, and concession, even the families of the farmers. And it's really, really hard sometimes to have governments that couldn't care less about this, that are totally insensitive to the most needy people, to the indigenous people. Many people here know about her murder, the process that is being carried out currently, the trial currently heard in the courts. It's still not clear who were the intellectual, the planners, or what led these corporations or the government to kill her. But we do know something. This much we know. Her death has now inspired thousands of people to stand up now and defend their environment. And we hope that this legacy that she generated will spread in every one of us. For example, in each one of these champions who have taken in their own hands the decision to do something, and we hope that all of us present here, and then the people in the media also make the decision to do something for their environment. Since I was a little boy, I remember seeing a river running about the size of this. 15 years later, it was only like a very small brook. You know, here in the cities, we fail to see that. But every day, the land is being destroyed. And a lot of it has to do with us, the government. The organizations are not handling correctly or look the other way and decide not to do nothing. That's why I'm so surprised about the actions of the lawyer. He saw all this dirt on the beach and he decided to take action. Bertha, since she was very young, decided to act for the neediest and to help the environment. Again, my deepest thanks for this award for her as a champion to inspire everybody to continue fighting for a better planet. We hope that many years from now we will be able to give our children something better, or at least not something worse than what we have, correct? So thanks to the United Nations, thanks to the environment for this award. And I have one quote to finish. Bertha didn't die. She multiplied herself. May she multiply in the hearts of everyone, but not only regarding the feeling, but hope that she may multiply in the actions of every one of us, of you, of the organizations, of the governments, doing things, taking action. And again, congratulations to the United Nations for coming here and to promote and fight to have a better planet. Thank you very much.
Can you hear me? Well, there we go. Okay. Minister laureates, again, congratulations to all of you, and thank you very, very much for joining us today. Thank you to Eric as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid we are entirely out of time, and there's some pressure for us to vacate the room for the next event that's to start at 6 sharp. Let me just flag my colleagues Maria Lasso and Neve Brannigan. For any of you who would like to interview any of the laureates, we'd be very happy to set that up for you on a one-on-one basis as well. So you can feel free to reach out to Maria and Neve. Apologies that we will have to close at this point because the next group is waiting for the room. Thank you all very much once again, and congratulations.